Yes, I know the thumbnail is a little bit clickbait, but it's not clickbait if I actually deliver on the promise of the thumbnail. And besides, I had to make it a little bit clickbait because one kind fellow in the comments told me off for my thumbnails being a little bit clickbait. And if someone tells me not to do something, I'm more likely to do it than ever. Just like when I was leaving school, they told me not to set up a business because it wouldn't be successful, and not to bother pursuing a career in law, believe it or not, because it was too expensive, too complicated, too competitive, and I'd never get there. But lo and behold, decades later, my businesses are successful and I'm a practicing barrister. And yet people are still trying to tell me what not to do, just like some other nice fellow took the time to send me an email not to wear white t-shirts. So of course for the next week I had to take the time to find as many white t-shirts as possible. But anyway, I digress, and I better get back to the subject matter of the video before this really does become clickbait and that fellow was right. So anyway, every now and again I'm instructed on a case where I feel the subject matter is so important that I need to bring it to you in a video. Of course, without divulging any confidential information which would get me disbarred. But in one such case, the client is very happy that I talk about the issues in the case on my videos to ensure that no one else falls for this kind of scam. And it's not the first time that I've been instructed on such a case, so I'm going to talk about some aspects of 2 or 3 of these cases merged together and the things that you should be looking out for. First of all, I'll underpin this whole situation with the phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. But that's not to say that there won't be a breach of contract or that the contract itself won't be unlawful. In at least 2 or 3 of these cases that I've been instructed on so far, customers have paid significant amounts of money for a training scheme to train them to become business owners and therefore to develop a business to the point that it's making profit. Now, this is of course not to say that every person or every business offering such training is doing so dishonestly or not going to follow through on the promises. But at least in those cases that I've been instructed on, these customers have been misled as to what it is they are signing up for. And moreover, it turns out that at least some of these agreements are unlawful, but keep watching and you'll find out why. But first of all, looking at the fundamental breach of contract aspect is where if a consumer is told something specifically about the contract that they are entering, then they are entitled to rely on that as a term of the contract and enforce that if there is a breach of contract. So in these cases, typically what happens, they go on a very generic boot camp style training course to feed them into the idea of what they might learn on the ongoing course. At which point, of course, the person in charge or the company asks the customer what it is that they want to achieve on this course, and then they confirm that they will support them and they will be able to make that particular business a success. And in doing so, the customer is then entitled to rely on that as a term of the contract, because if they fail to provide the training required, that would be a breach of contract and entitle them to a full refund. And aside from that, some of these companies are also offering payment by installments, many thousands of pounds over many months. Now this is where the law kicks in, because some of these sort of buy now pay later type contracts, normally attributed to goods but also applies to services, if the value of the contract is split over installments, those must not be more than 12 installments and must not be more than 12 months. If the contract provides for more than 12 installments or for a period longer than 12 months, that would make it a regulated consumer credit agreement, attracting all of the regulations and the responsibilities of a consumer credit agreement, not to mention that the company must be authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority to enter such agreement. And the law refers to a general prohibition where a person cannot set up such an agreement unless they are authorized or exempt from doing so. And if a person is found to be setting up such an agreement in breach of this general prohibition, that's a criminal offence. So these are just some of the things that you should watch out for if you are going to sign up to some of these training programs. Because as I said at the outset, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, but that doesn't stop you from bringing a claim for breach of contract. However, if you are promised certain things within this contract, simply make a note of them, ideally on the contract itself, which by the way must be signed if it's a consumer credit agreement, which in most cases they aren't, because in most cases businesses, such as these, the persons and the companies are not authorized to set up these consumer credit agreements, and frankly probably don't even realize that they are credit agreements in the first place. Or if they do, then that's even more serious. So if you were thinking of signing up to any of these contracts, read all of the small prints, including the terms that you are signing up to, such as payment by installments. If it's more than 12 months or if it's more than 12 installments, it is supposed to be a regulated agreement. So if they are not regulated, they are frankly breaking the law and committing a criminal offence. So in each and every case, do note down everything that is said to you, everything that you relied upon, or anything that you asked that was confirmed to be part of the contract, that you understood to be part of that contract, because you are entitled to rely on these under the Consumer Rights Act of 2015 for England and Wales, and in other jurisdictions you probably have a similar law whereby the consumer can rely on these things said to or by the consumer as part of the contract. So as always, I hope that is at least some glimmer of usefulness to you. Please smash the like button if it was, and also leave me your thoughts, comments and questions down below. Anything that you'd like to ask, that you'd like me to cover in these videos, such as this issue here that probably affects a lot of people over a long time, and hopefully I'm doing my little bit to prevent you from falling for these scams. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching.